Okay, today is Sunday. Still, it's 11:33. I've been playing chess since I was in junior high. So I must have been at about 16 years old. I must have been 16 years old. I must have been 15 years old. And the librarian would collect the past due fees for the library books and then give it to the person who wins the tournament each year in a savings bond. So he would have $25 in fees, and then he would buy a $50 savings bond and give it to the winner. I won it three times, which means that when I was a freshman, I won. When I was a junior, I won, and when I was a senior, I won. So 3 years in a row, I won. Okay, but my skill set never improved. Okay, because I didn't devote the time that's required to dig deeper into understanding what chess is. So, chess is about elevating, chess is about elevating the the depth of moves. Okay? It's about moving towards higher depth of moves. So a person who is a grandmaster has the ability to see something 10 or 20 moves down the road because he's familiar with certain tactics. But for somebody like myself, who is an really an amateur who's able to compete, was able to compete, probably not now, in a junior high level of playing chess. It's about constantly thinking about how to move things around, right? But I can only think, but I can only see a certain moves ahead. And so what that meant was that uh, I never improved. And so even though I play chess on chess.com right now, um, I haven't improved. I'm just playing chess at a level that I'm used to. I'm not able to excel or become a grandmaster because I haven't been able to put in the respective time, the time that's required to move myself into a higher level of a deeper level of thinking in chess. Now, what I've noticed about trading, it can be that way. It can be the same way. I've heard of people who I've heard of people who are emotional, and so what they do, they put their money in, they lose, they go out, and they repeat. They don't graduate to a higher level of understanding, like I haven't. I've been doing this for now almost like 5 years actively, and still I haven't made progress towards like greater understanding, greater depth of understanding in what trading is about. And so trading and uh, trading and trading trading is very similar to like acquiring the skill sets to play chess well, which means I have to be in an active learning state. I have to be in an active learning state instead of being bogged down by emotions. And so I have to set out a schedule that tells me, okay, if I want to get to a certain point, I have to elevate myself each and every time. Each and every time I have to elevate myself so that I can become more familiar with what trading is about. So, so that means I have to set out a strategic plan. So I have to. So in order for me to differentiate myself from what I have been doing as a uh, as a stagnant, it's essentially what that means is being stagnant. If I'm not making progress, if I'm not making money from the market, that means that I'm stagnant. It means that I'm stagnant as a stagnant trader. I am a stagnant trader. So in order for me to move out of this situation, I have to constantly learn about trading so that I can improve and get better and better and better so that I can become a grandmaster of trading. And in order for me to become a grandmaster of trading, I have to keep learning and learning and learning, improving my skill sets. So the difficult part about that is having a blueprint to get to that level and say, okay, so if I know this much on a concrete level, then I am at a grandmaster level. So how do I get that level? How do I create this level of grand mastery, right? How do I get to the point where I am now getting to the grand master level? So if I can just imagine, what does a grandmaster do? Okay, so what does a grandmaster of trading do? Okay, so what's the qualification of a grandmaster of trading, right? What is that? The grandmaster of trading is being able to uh, have a depth of understanding of the setups and be able to execute that setup flawlessly. That's the definition of a grandmaster of trading. Okay, grandmaster of trading is being able to have a repertoire of known. So quantitatively speaking, so if I'm a grandmaster and I only have one move, am I still considered a grandmaster? But if I can win all the time, if I can win all the time, I can be a grandmaster of a single setup. Okay, I can become a grandmaster of trading by knowing just one setup when I'm constantly winning. I'm always winning in massively. Okay, so how do I get to that point? How do I get to the point where I master something so well that I can win big a lot of the times? Okay, most of the time. That's called becoming a grand mastery of trading. Okay, so how do I become? How do I? So that means it's not necessary that I have numerous tactics in trading. It's just that if I have at least one that I can use to make a substantial amount of return, that's the grand mastery of on a consistent basis. That is the grand mastery of trading, right? So I suppose somebody can make maybe $4,000 a month. So that would be some sort of a level of uh, the the international mastery, or maybe the U.S. mastery, right? But if we're talking about the grand mastery, which is the global kind of thing, it has to be something. So there in chess, there's something called what is that? U.S. master, international master, and then grand master, right? So there's a level of understanding, and then there's a ranking of the numbers assigned to being a rated trader, a rated chess player. So that means that in order for me to get to the point where I am, that also works. That also applies to like playing seven card poker, right? So there are people who are so good at what they do is that they're able to utilize the skill set that they have in order to so that they can just essentially railroad somebody who's not familiar with how to play poker. So that is also similar to somebody who has achieved a grand mastery of being an engineer. Somebody who is, I mean, some of these AI engineers are demanding more than $1 billion from Meta, right? So the same thing goes with trading. I am unqualified in AI. I'm not qualified. I'm not now. I'm too old to be an engineer. Okay, I don't qualify for that, right? I don't qualify as a I don't qualify as a chess player either because my skill set is has not been constantly being updated and increased. It hasn't been. I haven't read books. Although I bought books, it just didn't make any. I didn't. I didn't have the I didn't have the motivation, really. I didn't have the motivation to really go for it. So now now trading has a lucrative advantage to what I'm doing, right? There is a there is a financial the financial incentive for being very good at at trading. And so now that is something, and I need something like that right now. So that's a motivation factor in my trading. So the idea now, the approach that I have now is moving towards becoming a grand mastery of it's now becoming the grand mastery of trading. So how do I get there? How do I get to the point where now I'm attempting to achieve a grand mastery of trading, right? That's the goal that I have. That's the goal that I have set for myself, right? So, um, so that means that if I am able to, on a consistent basis, if I were to just put a number on it, right? If I'm able to make about 2% per day on a consistent basis, even on a down day or up day, sideways day, if I can consistently figure out a way to make 2% per day, each day and every day, then I have truly achieved a level of consistency that affords me to be called a grand master of trading, right? Grand master of trading. There's a specific number that's assigned to it. Okay? If I elevate myself to a point where I'm saying to myself, if I can make 2% per day, if I can make 2% per day, right? Or even just 1% per day. If I can make 1% per day, that is the grand mastery of trading, right? If I make 1% per day, somehow, if I can make 1% per day, I would think that that would be a grand mastery of trading, right? If I were to equate a number to it, okay? If I can if I can assign a number to a specific return per each day, at least 1% per day, that means that I have achieved a grand mastery of trading. I think that's how it works. But I'll just take a stab at it. I'll say, okay, so that's the initial thinking, but I suppose it's going to evolve as I develop into a more sophisticated trader. So then the next question is, how do I get 1% per day? How do I do that? How do I achieve a 1% per day in trading, right? So that's another thing that I need to think about. It can't just be luck. I need to be able to say, okay, so if I make this trade, it's going to get me about 1%, or maybe half a percent, and then on maybe 2 to 3 trades of the like, then I can get it, I can get it closer, right? That's the idea. So so what I found out for the past 5 years as a trader is very similar to playing chess. In order to burn time, what I do is I go play chess when I'm waiting for a setup to develop. But I'm not developing. I'm not increasing my skill set. I'm just using my skills to tackle with other people, and it's not improving. It's not creating a higher level of understanding about what chess is. It is the same thing. It's the same thing as what I'm doing. It is the same thing as what I'm doing as a trader. So in order for me to improve, okay, I need to improve. Okay, I have to start improving. I have to start improving as a trader. So if I were to set a specific number to it, that then what I'll do is I'll figure out. So then I figure out what I need to do to get to that point. Okay, so so the idea is to do whatever it takes to get to the point where I'm achieving a certain level of numbers each and every day, right? That's the idea. So that is the start of the grand mastery. It is the start of the grand mastery of trading, right?